Getting ready to start.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I saw the quote and I had to check. Okay. Thank you. All right, how do we go? The meeting is on the order. We want to please stand for the allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Compliance with the notice provisions of the Sunshine Law by adopting prior to January 10th of this year, a resolution prescribing the dates, times, and locations of all regular meetings of the commission. This meeting is one of the meetings with such resolution, and copies of the resolution were filed in the borough. So once again, public comment is the beginning for working sessions, and then we kind of work our way through. We have many discussion items. We also have an ordinance and various resolutions. I just want to kind of explain why there's more of those happening at the working meeting this month. Our regularly scheduled commissioners meetings are usually the first Monday of the month, except the first Monday of April is the Monday spring break. And two of the three of us are going to be away for spring break. So we moved that meeting to April 13th, which has some cascading effects. So that's why we moved up some resolutions and are introducing an ordinance so that we can have the second reading at our mid-April meeting, so it doesn't get us behind. So people see more things than usual for ordinances and resolutions. That's kind of what's going on this month in particular. In addition, Jim is here on the phone, so he can discuss. I know we're going to have to abstain from the voting. Correct. He can take a vote. He can take a vote. Okay, and then he'll sign this document when it gets back. All right, just so everybody knows procedurally what's going on. All right. So I'll officially open public comment on any of the discussion items or general items that people may have. Seeing none, we will dive into our discussion items. First off, we have our first 26 count form coming up in March, so I want to see what topics you wanted to discuss. I know it's usually a Q&A, and I want to keep that format, but I figure there might be, some updates that we want to make sure everybody hears about. Jim, is there anything you want to put on there that we can kind of prep in like a PowerPoint for you, or if there's any kind of printed materials that needs to get together?
No, I think the value of this is to have people talk about whatever they want.
Okay, all right.
I do want to provide just a short update at that town forum last week. Cass, as well as myself and several representatives from the school board, had a meeting to discuss the safe routes to school.
Okay.
So we are still waiting on that final report, but as we're waiting, we decided to take a look at the recommendations. So a member of the borough staff is putting together those recommendations, and together with the school district and the school board, looking at what we can accomplish now. So as a reminder, that report is 100 pages, very long. And at the end is a consolidation of recommendations based on the properties of the schools. And so what can we work together? For example, low-hanging limbs that, perhaps our public works department can help with, or something that the schools could do together. So we're going to look at some kind of low-hanging fruit, quick wins in the meantime while we wait. But I'll give that same update at the March 25th town forum in partnership with the president, vice president of the school.
I will likely give a small update to Rock the Block. We have our first organizing meeting next week, just so people can hear more details about Rock the Block, the date it's happening, the different partners involved. Just it's the first time we're doing it, and it's a one-year event. So I'll probably give a short update on that, as well as a short update on the events going on in the Pocket Park. You know, give the quick little promo on our 19th annual Green Festival. And then follow it up the next week with our line-upping event in the Pocket Park, and then the Green Team's clothing swap that afternoon, just to get it out to more people.
Just to go back to the safe routes, we don't need any supplies or any PowerPoint for that. Okay. So ours will just be an oral update.
Okay.
So, quick.
I just wanted to have a little agenda, and then of course Jim will leave the rest of it as a Q&A where people want to ask us questions about. All right, dog and cat licenses.
So this agenda item was put up by me. I went to renew my dog's license. My dog is 15 years old. We got this dog when we came to Hollywood 15 years ago, and I've always done this via paper. And I just wrote to several borough staff to say, hey, what could the process be? Do other towns do this online? So I think the question was reaching out. I think Cherry Hill has it online, what the cost would be, how we can make some of these things a little bit easier for residents so they can pay online.
So Holly and I attacked it separately.
Okay.
And reached out to Cherry Hill. I don't know if you want to go first, but we noticed that they use a specific software. It's very likely that Cherry Hill uses that software for several applications, right? And it's like, it becomes like a cost benefit analysis to really pay for this just for, or use it in multiple spots. Holly reached out to our messenger and I reached out to Brett Bowerly. Bowerly's getting back to me with numbers on like, is it that they use this software for multiple applications and then also happen to use it for dog and pet licenses? Are they getting a lot of use? Is it just a small percentage? Is it worth it? What's the cost? I mean, I kind of asked the same question. So Bowerly's going to need those numbers. I don't know if Barry got back to you.
Betty Jo reached out to the software company to do their quote.
What, SDL?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty large software companies, so typically municipalities that have them have this kind of program service, a variety of different things within the municipality, so. Typically they're a large kind of package,
Right.
it's not like a one-off kind of thing.
So how, remind me, the software that we have for water and sewer, that's WIP, and that's through Edmunds? Okay, and the problem is that Edmunds does not have an option for pet licenses, like it's not an add-on.
I don't know if we've ever asked them to create one or if it's just
I
not.
think that Betty Jo also reached out to see if there was something other than SDL.
So we're kind of looking at options.
Right, and to see if it's like part, so we already have a semi-suite with, the tax payment system and sewer and water. See if there's something that's kind of in that vein, and then see what it costs. Because, you know, at $17 per license fee, it's not a big money maker. Because we like what, $2 of it, I think 15 goes to the state.
We keep a little bit more than that, and our count's down, we're down to about 100 people.
I think it's also like can we get that, would doing something that's gonna count up? Who knows?
100 people have done their dog license in Congress.
Maybe 125.
There's a lot more than 125.
Yes.
in Collinswood.
Occasionally I see more flyer like a pet farm,
Okay.
where they literally will like look in people's backyard and like do a manual count. And it's not real popular with public, but that happens from time to time.
Yeah, it's no longer required each year. Pet census used to be required, it's no longer required by the state.
Okay, well, perhaps if it were online, maybe we'll see from Cherry Hill what they have to report. If it were online, maybe we would have more participation, and it's helpful to know, where does that money, that information goes to the state, but it helps us to know licenses, juveniles, does that go to the fire department at all?
Like, it helps pay for our, animal control, and we get, billed from, veterinarians for when animals, strays,
Yeah.
wildlife are injured, and they have to go to the vet to get either treated or, euthanized, and there's no one.
Yeah, just needs to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, also to like, just there's kind of invite someone, we think, oh, have the police to come and see from Holly, but
Are
there's
they
a
rabies?
license, and have they been
Yeah, that's fine, let's see, and have they been rabies vaccinated recently, and that's also a big public health situation.
Required.
People don't love that license. Yeah, they do it.
Thank you.
No, sorry, yes.
Well, traditionally, this has been paper, you send it into the borough, or take it to the borough with working hours, which of course are for borough.
We do have a Dropbox.
You have a Dropbox?
Dropbox.
Where's it, the Dropbox in the front?
On the side,
Okay.
the side entrance, the ADA entrance.
Alright,
We get water payments in there, some tax payments, construction permits.
well, let's see how much it costs. If it's cost prohibitive, of course, we don't want to do anything like that, but, just thinking about making stuff a little bit.
Alright, so we're on to the tree removal application, which we talked a bit about and Gretchen wrote up for us last meeting. I took a closer look at it. I have some questions. So the way that I read this is that there is a fee for replacement is only charged if the replanting as prescribed does not take place.
And also if it is not a hazard tree. So a hazard tree is either dead or dying and, falling over, then there's no fee. There's no, either application fee or responsibility to replace. And I think you get 5 of those for 5 years.
Okay.
Or an invasive tree.
Or an invasive tree.
Okay, yeah,
So
so
those
those
are
are invasive trees down without a fee. If it is an alive tree, and it's not an invasive tree, then you need to pay the application fee and either replant on your own property, or if you don't have room to replant, then you can pay to have it replanted elsewhere.
Got it. Okay.
So the shade tree would like to increase those.
Yes, okay. I was trying to understand better who actually ultimately pays that fee. And it's someone who takes down a live tree.
Yes,
That is well,
yes,
and then chooses not to replant with the correct number of trees that would over time. And it's, one tree, depending on how big the tree is, how many you have to replant. And that then turns into what you would have to pay if you were unwilling or unable to do so. Okay, so that, you actually answered my second question. Out of the 37 applicants from 2025, 20 say that they didn't pay an application fee. But that's because they were taking down a tree that was either dead, dying, or a invasive species. Okay, great. So it looks like less than 20% of applicants last year paid the replacement fee. Just to kind of put in context, when we're talking about these fees, how many people actually impacted. The replacement fee as it stands right now, there are 4 categories of sizes. There's 100, 200, 300, and 400. The contention of the Shade Tree Board is that you cannot even buy a relatively mature tree of like the highest category for $400. It's just not enough for that. And so they have, and here's what they would like to increase it to. I think that there is a middle ground here. Like I see what they're saying. But we shouldn't be, if we have to replace these trees, it shouldn't be coming out of the pocket for us. For someone who's taking down a live tree, they should have to pay what it costs to replace that tree. I think these increases are a lot steeper, and maybe it's something we do over a couple of years. but I think some sort of an increase from where we are now is merited, especially for categories 3 and 4, that those are just bigger trees and like $300, $400 for big trees is not even gonna scratch the surface. So to find a middle ground, I would propose $150 up from 100 for the smallest category. It's, let's see, 250, so it's actually going up $50 on what we have now, for the first two categories. So 150 for category 1, 250 for category 2, and then I'd just love to hear some feedback on categories 3 and 4.
What were the proposals for 1, 2, 3, and 4 from the shade tree?
300 for category 1, 600 for category 2, 900 for category 3, and 1,200 for category 4.
And they're currently 100, 200, 300, 400.
Correct.
What's the DPH of like a category 4?
33 inches or, 33 inches or greater. Yeah, it's big. And 400 for that really doesn't matter.
So if you're recommending 150, it's, well, why don't we just cut it right in the middle? If you're saying that we want to do this over time, do you want to just do 200, 300, 450, 600?
Yeah.
So like right in the middle of the two, from the previous to the proposal, if you're saying do it over time, just do 50%. So from 100 to 200, the middle would be, it would be 300, 50% of the new one.
Okay. And then 450, then 600.
Correct.
Okay.
And then we could increase them over time and go back to the shade tree commission and say we could do this.
Yeah, and I think Gretchen does a great job of having, the tracking of what happened in 25 and how many of the trees truly were, were live trees that needed to play the replacement, that it actually should have had paid for the replacement instead of doing the plantings. Like having that data year over year, because this is really the first, 25 the first year having full year, yeah, right? So you have to really compare apples to apples.
Okay.
Jim, how do you feel about those increases?
That's fine, that's fine.
All right, I have it written down, Gretchen, so we can work that up for the next meeting to adopt that change.
And we would increase them to 27?
No, I think we don't.
No, I mean, you were saying over time increase them to the full amount. What is your thinking in terms of when would that happen? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now?
I think at the beginning of 27, we look back at 26's data compared to this, we see how many applications we're actually talking about. If there's only, and how many were like in category 4. We're talking about category 4 being the one that's truly is out of reach, but there wasn't a single category 4 tree brought down,
Is the penalty for not getting, for having a little not getting a permit, just standard fee?
Yeah, that's what we've been doing, we're just trying to get the permit after the fact. Then either paying for whatever they took out. Yeah. I haven't had to take anyone.
Yeah, we have calls like mid tree project neighbors are like, they can just go take out tree. They probably know what the tree said, so.
Yeah, I know it's,
Yeah, which is great.
yeah, everyone's just said, okay, do what I need to do.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. See, this is why you need to stay up here. Next, so it appears, I know that the building that the village is currently in has been for sale for a while.
What's
Or
that?
school.
Yes, it's been for sale, so, yeah, the building is for sale. And I guess maybe their lease is up, I'm not sure, but the businesses weren't for sale, just the building.
Yeah, I know we talked to different developers that were interested at one point or another and whether they would stay or not. So it appears that they are considering moving across the street. And so it came up that because they also offer massage as one of their many services, that is a
prohibited use in Thompson. So.
Currently, yes.
Currently, yes.
So, I have the email. So we talked to our planning board attorney, Matt Madden, and he mentioned that for example, Cherry Hill, they have an ordinance that mandates that these kind of facilities have to be licensed by the state. And if there's something that you can add, like therapeutic massage by licensed massage therapist and health-related professional. And I wonder if that's something that we would want to adopt, because I think that health-related facility with licensed professionals, massage being a prohibited use probably made sense when that was written originally and what massage meant, or can mean, understood. But I wonder if there's a way that we can work it in so that places that are.
Was this added like 10 years ago?
Or has it been on
Well, a little bit right around that time, yes.
There was a place.
There was an historical incident.
Yes.
There was
There was a place.
So would this kind of language have addressed the historical issue?
I think so. I mean, it's certainly, that's certainly when the board has granted, use variances for massage. Those were the parameters that the board used was, are you licensed? Is this in conjunction with other therapeutic treatments such as physical therapy, where there are spas that happen, but all of them were asking, are you licensed by the state of New Jersey? And are you, what type of massage they were doing, and then they could give testimony.
Without the massage, so to go back for a second, the village wants to go to the 900 building, but currently has to go in front of the board for a use variance because massage is prohibited.
Correct.
But if you change the ordinance allowing massage with these, they wouldn't have to go in front of the board.
Correct.
if their version of massage met the standard.
Yes, right.
I would think so, they have lactation consultants that are certified.
Right, yeah,
Insurance.
And that's what they gave testimony at the board when they were there in the current location. That was all the testimony. But because of municipal land use and the way that it has the state of New Jersey,
It doesn't sound like
that, right?
But they were already successful in receiving a variance.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, got
The
it.
variance is tied to a specific.
Variance doesn't-
location and
What is the
directed
expression carry with
permitted.
It doesn't go with
that.
Right,
Right,
yeah. Got it.
it's linked to the land, the property lot,
Yeah.
not to the business.
so I think it's merited to go in front of the board, but this just feels like something that we should have a license. And then that was part of what you were talking about, updating some applications on your end, that you would then be able to see the license number and like have that to people when they apply.
You get a lot of applications from stuff.
No, but with like other.
Over time we have, and there's quite a few in town that had to go to the board and that are now approved. There's quite a few salons. There are some other therapeutic places that did PT and had massage. Yeah.
Jim, what do you think?
I think if you want to change it, it's fine, if we change it, we do it periodically based on how many cases go to the planning and zoning board for variance relief, if it makes sense to just change it. You should just refer this to our planner to give recommendations about where it should be changed. If you're gonna change the zoning of it, it should,
Right.
tie to commercial areas, like,
Right.
come up with where makes the most sense, and then put it in place, that's fine.
Okay, all right. So that would be talking to Annie and Ashton. Okay.
And that would just.
That whole process does take some time, it's not gonna help the village,
Right.
unless unless they have a 4 to 6 month timeline.
Right.
So what needs to go into the ordinance, you're saying just like the specific areas of town?
Well, the description of the business and
Yeah,
then
but
what
so,
zones should it,
So why does that take 4 to 6 months?
because you have to draft it, and then you have to introduce it, and you have to adopt it.
Right,
The
so
second read, yes.
Second, first reading, second reading.
I understand first and second reading, why can't we do that next month?
Because Ashton needs time to,
It takes 4 to 6 months to do that?
it could take
It might take them longer than mid-April.
We can't just put in the ordinance, we have to have a planner say where it is?
Yes.
Well, I'd also recommend our planning professionals.
You don't have to, okay, but for, doing a proper planning of it, it's sure good to get his advice because, otherwise it's just us picking, yeah, let's do it there, that's fine. You know,
I'm not averse to asking for advice, I just was trying to make it move faster.
Yeah, well, you know, the change in the zoning in parts of town to get done over the next 2 to 4 months is, you know, it won't help this applicant, but it's moving pretty quick.
I think it's,
Everybody else that has ever gone in and asked for the use variance has gotten the use variance.
right, yeah, understood. Right,
And I think honestly, just showing that we have seen that there have been multiple applicants, and if they have this, then Gretchen would have the ability to, you know, verify that they do have these, that they do have their R license, and then they could do us to go for the plan.
Right, they make application without the massage use, and then once it's adopted, like,
They could apply without the massage currently, and I could approve the permit, and then they could add massage, or reapply once massage became.
Okay.
And that was one of my points in the email, was that we were just hearing from the property owner, we don't even know if we're gonna carry out a massage, because maybe they don't have a massage therapist that they work with anymore, because they found that it's not, you know, other parts of the practice were more involved in, and they weren't catering to that, so not knowing exactly what they want to move forward is also a difficult part of knowing how to fix this, because we don't know if they're even bringing massage.
it's a whole area, we should get moving on language.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To allow words to allow.
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
And just to reiterate, I mentioned this before, I just want to talk about this one property where we're talking 900, like, we've changed, periodically, we have changed what uses are permitted there.
Right.
Because the office use, you know, an office building and what was permitted there, you know, things change, like, it's been different, been evolving. But for, you know, you guys just know, there will be another one.
Right.
Won't be permitted, and it's kind of the same drill. They can go get a variance, you know, pretty quickly, and everybody's all, you know, the board's on board with it, but if there's gonna be a major change, like, it just takes a little bit of time to make sure we're doing it correctly in terms of traffic, you know, who's coming in this case, the licensing of it. Because there have been facilities in the past where there were not licensed.
Right. And we've had applications that did not make it at board because they were not licensed. Right.
But you would also have the ability, some of us were talking about, is that if the zoning were to allow it, you would then be able to, oh, you're not a licensed professional, so you don't meet these criteria.
What we discussed was that would be like honest, more than anything. Right, it was
Or
like,
they
we'll
would
leave that on the application, so they are attested.
Yes,
But not
so that they
necessarily.
could report that.
Right.
Correct.
But then if
Unless
they're,
we define the business as being one that's performed by licensed professionals.
Right. Yeah, I would anticipate any new
There's no need
ordinance
to
to
plan,
have
or
that.
need to plan right up.
Yeah.
To
okay,
All right, okay.
National capture, all that.
Yeah.
Granular stuff.
Mhm. Put the SNAP coordinator position on here, I don't know if that's maybe more,
Yeah. So Kim and I met in February, as we usually do, to sort of discuss overall needs. Snap's been great, but it's tricky to fill. So we have like 2 part-time people. She also has like a setup assistant. We left that meeting potentially discussing like the person who does the setup and the breakdown is not as needed for the market hours if they set up before and breakdown. So we might try to find a person to do setup breakdown and then do snap during that period. So she was working on a job description. I actually texted her this morning. I'm gonna try to catch up with her today, or by the end of the week, we should have a sort of clearer picture of how we want to advertise the position.
and I heard there was like a option of it maybe being more than one person.
That's what we did previously.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a couple different options.
Are any of that, so the hours obviously would be the same, but the salary is the same, nothing changes budget line wise?
Because we don't anticipate change.
Lindsay, calm down. Updates on our beloved popular.
Do you want me to come up there? I just broke down into two parts, first a programming update and then an update on the mural and RFP process. So on the programming side, thus far since opening, we have mostly done programming internally. We've hosted 6 larger scale events and a couple smaller meetups such as game nights, yoga class, stuff like that. Our current programming model is, like I said, generally borough-led, but then we have an added opportunity for bid business members, which is our downtown management corporation, to host events, pop-ups, stuff like that. They can express their interest through a Google form that we send out, through our bid newsletters and communications, as well as talk about in our general meetings. And it's just a general Google form information of what their staffing needs might be, what their space needs might be, what season they're looking to do stuff in. We've seen some early interest in businesses like Garden Collection who's coming in. They would like to do some kind of donation-based pop-up sale. She does installment of composter systems in restaurants throughout the Mid and Ocean City where they have their original location. So she would like to also start doing that here. So, love that. Kentucky Karate wants to do like a 6-week contest session, which would be something along the lines of like Tai Chi. So great for seniors, great for adults, and early in the morning before work. So we're seeing some stuff like that come in. And then we also have several events already scheduled there, like you said, our second Saturdays are going to be taking place. We're going to activate the Pop-In Park with kind of more intensive pop-ups than we used to. And we have our nothing events scheduled there. We activate it for several events throughout the year. So ways that we can kind of expand the programming right now are to also bring in our community organizations, I think, into that Google form sign-up process. Places like, Civic Collective, Flag.
And the Civic Collective wants to have like a sign up for the yard sale on this night, you'll have a table or.
So stuff like that.
Sorry, is there a charge, like with the karate, when they have their event, do we charge them?
So the goal with the Pop-In Park is to provide mostly free programming.
Okay.
So generally the bid would pay an instructor like a nominal fee or something. That's how we've done it so far.
I see, so the bid pays the instructor to participants pay anything?
Until now, they have not. We can certainly do that. We always did want to keep it fairly low cost or free just to make accessibility.
Wellness needs to do low or no cost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like we did the yoga class with a teacher from Upcycle. We paid her directly. And then we hosted the sign up and everything, and she just showed up. And she gave us her general rate, her one. So, but that's something consideration. Their house, we should be moving straight from, should some of it from development, from a municipal budget. It's really a downtown, economic stimulator, so a lot of that funding should kind of come from bid, but we can look at that. And then also to partnering with borough departments, so partnering with library, with fire, with police, stuff like that, any events that they would like to host there, obviously make that open, get communication out that that's an option for them. I'd love to see some regular events from the library and story times, monthly running, outdoor story time, stuff like that. And then also a big idea for the program is to kind of have recurring low lift programming. So that is like regular game night. We had a couple of those last year. That was fun. We were some like outside and played board games. I didn't look my phone for 2 hours for the first time. 10 years. Yoga fitness classes, like we said, small creative or experiential meetups if we have committees who want to use the space as a meeting place,
Maybe that you move the meetups in the fall were fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Super fun to see. Outside.
It gets nicer. Oh, I really like the green team, that like our meeting. Not yet, 32 grade on there.
So if the group did, so you're saying, right, so far it's been this Google form just bid, but expanding to have the Google form in their flag or Girl Scouts or whatever, not for regular meeting, but like if you wanted to come and post something, they would use this Google form?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we should utilize the Google Calendar of some sort specifically for the pocket park that internally we have access to, so we're not doubling up on the other department heads, I would imagine, that has access to, with the primary, like, person who's handling scheduling, especially the me. Just turn them on what, that things are appropriate, obviously, you know, we're not hosting anything crazy.
The ones that they're not selling things.
Exactly, and then, you know, I do think it's important to keep it kind of specific to that, because once we start allowing, you know, we made a decision, like, it's not a pocket park, like, you can't rent it out for a private event. You can't have a party there or something, it's not like a pavilion.
And things aren't for sale, so you can't be like, I'm selling my jewelry.
Exactly, unless it's like second Saturday and we're having an event and you're there in conjunction with something where we're saying, yes, that's okay. You know, usually we're activating that space for second Saturday, so we even tell the second Saturday vendors, like, this isn't really part of that, like, you should go to Avenue, this is for the event space. The only other thing I would bring up is two other things. One of the initial ideas was considerable movie programming. We have the inflatable screen, it's super easy to bring out, it's always been very successful. However, last year when we were doing one of our public movies, we got hit by one of the licensing companies for multiple hundreds of dollars in order to show the film. We'd already publicized it, so we didn't want to unpublicize it, so we paid it. But looking forward, that's something we're gonna have to take into consideration, because I believe a lot of these companies are moving away also from like the yearly blanket fee you can pay, which would be a great solution, but from what I understand, it's almost at that high event now. So if we're looking at paying multiple hundreds of dollars to show movies, we have to really consider like if that's a good investment, if that's giving us a good return, how many.
On that front, how does it work, especially with the World Cup? And I'm sure the idea of watch parties and things like that, is gonna be a conversation that's looming. Is there any way, like, could the borough get an account, like a YouTube TV kind of
Yeah,
thing?
like we showed games from the World Series when the Phillies were in there, somebody had an account. We probably supposed to do it like that, to be honest. But yeah.
We'll
So, that's what I mean, but I would be cognizant of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
considerations going forward, A, because I don't want to get hit with anything, and B, because if there's a way for us to get a blanket type coverage like we do for our ASCAP license for music professionals and stuff, that would be great. Otherwise, just I think I have to rethink that part of it. And then the other piece I know have been asked about as a potential addition to the pocket park space has been food vending considerations. So at this time, as you guys know, the borough has an ordinance that prohibits mobile vending units. So right now that includes any food trucks or mobile vending units unless we amend that ordinance. We have had feedback from local restaurant owners. We had a restaurant meeting 2 months ago. Yeah, 3 months ago, with all the restaurant owners, we did bring that up. They did indicate broad concern about bringing in outside vendors. That's been a long time, you know, kind of back and forth, and we do hear from the business community that there's concern about bringing in competition. I think a balanced approach could be, you know, kind of continuing to welcome these outside vendors to our larger festivals, farmers markets, things like that, and allowing local businesses and restaurants to utilize the park for organized things within, like if we're hosting a taste of Hackensack night or something, or doing a small, you know, a pop-up there, and we need support. I think that local businesses should kind of have right of first refusal for something like that, especially as the pocket park's intended role is really to be an economic driver for our existing businesses. So I think it's something to kind of think about on a larger level, which is just do we want to keep that ordinance? Do we not? I don't know if there's any.
If
We
you
are,
want to, for like food truck ordinances, you are permitted for distance requirements, zoning. So like say you want to allow food trucks in like park, but not in downtown area, that's something that you can consider.
Yeah, in general, and we've talked about this in general, the food truck event, under restaurant, those direct $10 a day per dollar. Yeah, and insurance.
And just adding on the food trucks, from like the fire code perspective, there would be permitting requirements, there's fees, and like a lot of that distancing and stuff like that is covered by the fire code, but like it would be an extra step plus inspections for every time the food truck moves.
Yes. So I know that we just confirmed a restaurant meeting, an upcoming one for the next week, so I think, you know, take the temperature again, see where they stand, but again, with my gut and my recommendation says that, you know, we're gonna continue to hear that there's concern there about competition. And I think that it's important that we listen.
How can the public learn about the program?
So, we should add, we did add, there's a Pocket Park page on the website. So once we get everything kind of going again, I should get in a regular habit of having a schedule there, having our calendar, we figure out there. I think that should go prior, I think, social, regular updates for things like that. And then obviously whichever group or organization might be using it. I really want to figure out how to get it set as the location on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at that to make sure that people can actually check in there, things like that. But I think if we really just kind of look at it as three parts of like bid, internal committees and organizations, and community organizations, if we get it out there, all of them, and really activate it and have a good calendar system.
And
that
if
we
you
should be
want
able
to
do
tier that, like introduce one.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do
Next,
first.
Just to see how much space, like, how much is taken up by, do we have enough?
I would also
Yeah.
say that community organization is a broad umbrella for the daycare, like you can get an application from anybody. It's a community organization, daycare, it's. I can register in college, so that allows us to say like, you're going to come or you're not. Well, it's a very big bucket, you know.
Right, and then what, how are you saying yes and no, like, what are your?
Yes, yeah, so that's the definition we put on it for maker, it's pretty effective.
Yeah, so I think that we should refine the approval process with that in mind.
I agree, that just
Have
raises
some
some,
parameters that we put out there.
yeah, some legal red flags, like, we don't want just like a hate group or
And that's why we
an
open it up to-
anti-Semitic
Yeah,
group
that's
or
why
something.
Parameters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great, so let's, so the legal
We're
language.
doing that process.
Yeah, so we'll continue outreach, look to pilot some of these recurring programs to see how that, you know, if we build that consistency, if we have people showing up.
But it's our first spring, so we're.
I'll look at the movie licensing options and see if we can blanket license process. And then I will start getting a calendar together, format together for the fall.
We can, we don't have, so I don't, was this ever part of the app of having like an actual town calendar?
Yes, event calendar, that would be a huge part of it.
Because I
So
think
Pocket
that would
Park
be-
certainly. Yeah, and I did, I circled back with them and kind of got everything, I have some assets that need to deliver to them. But then once we get them everything they need, they said it's about a 75-day timeline to turn that around. So we're ready to kind of come back to that.
We could have local films like stuff from high school, shown at any time. We had like that local film festival.
Also public domain stuff.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
while we're figuring out
Okay, we're
costs.
all interested.
Yeah, so we're, some locally made high school movies.
All right, so that's that part.
Premiere showing.
Alright, quickly for the mural and art part, people got me an updated, edited version of the draft RFP for the mural that's gonna go on the wall at Pocket Park, where Fruit Ground is. It just offers us some additional protections, what I understand, I'm sure Caleb can speak a little better to those protections. I have a basic timeline set up, so it would be announced to the public at the end of this month on March 30th, the process, and the call for applications. Proposals would then be due April 27th, so end of April. There would be a 1-week compliance review period where I would just look through them to make sure that they meet all of the application criteria, because that, lower our candidate pool. The following week would be committee scoring and a shortlist development period. The week after that would be notifying finalists and conducting any interviews if needed. We could do final selection by May 29th. We did include a week buffer there, because we have Mayfair, being realistic. And then that aligns with the June 1st commissioners meeting, so it's potentially be awarded at the June 1st commissioners meeting.
We had talked about, a public arts committee,
Yes.
so who is on that committee?
So I first looked at solidifying what type of people, what roles we want to have. So I believe it should be Director of Business and Community Development as the chair. Two bid representatives and announced at the general meeting on 3/24 to get applicants for that. One person who is a local professional artist of some kind, and then one person who is a community arts or cultural representative. We talked about having that one for potentially civic collective who helps with a lot of the background footwork. If he's interested, he does a lot. He might be like, I have so much to do.
I'm sorry, is this the selection committee or, okay?
This would be the same, so having a 5-person selection committee, I think any more than that.
No, that's
Not get the weeds.
Yeah.
So again, this could be talked about at the general meeting on 3/24
For those two members.
for the two bid representatives. And then we just have to make a decision if we want to appoint professional local artists just through bid, or if that's something that we want to publicize and ask if there are interested community members for transparency, always lets
I think the
celebrate the process. So I'm open to doing that.
I think that sounds like a great idea. So it's an application to be on the selection committee.
Yes.
So it's not someone who's going to apply to have the mural, but who's interested in what that might look like. So any kind of other artist.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we look for specific criteria like you do for master steering and stuff like that,
Yeah.
people with background in
Yeah.
our community, art,
I feel like you would have a lot of interest. Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty balanced approach. We're not involving any government body, we like to get us out of that.
And for this first one, right, remind me, we have parameters around like the fee.
We do.
Yeah.
Yes. Which makes that a lot easier for us going through this first time because it's very laid out for us. So there's design direction, there's a whole application already done, there's a weighting system, a point system. So it was a lot of the work kind of done for us there, which is great.
Is there anything else you need from us? That timeline sounds pretty spot on. So is there anything else you need from anybody here?
I think I will work on communications for it, for announcing to the public. We should all, as a body, look at the RFP and make sure that we're okay with the language. And then Caitlin also provided a draft of what the public notice for that would look like. So as long as everybody okays that, then we're going to publicize it. Comes together for that, that will go on social, that will go on our website. I will probably also get that out to some local media, that's the kind of thing where I can get more broad coverage or something like that.
For the, application to be on the committee, do you just want to use like a Google form or something to make it really easy for yourself?
How usually?
I'm gonna look at it, because in the request for proposal is a very, that's probably the easiest way. Got that buffer right here. So we'll just take those exact questions, people can upload certain things. I believe some materials we will have to, so here's where I'm confused. We have public notice, will this be treated like a normal bid where people have to come in and actually bring their packets?
So that's how I've designed it,
Yes.
that's how we follow it, so the
So that
selection
will
committee
be
goes
for-
through all of the judging, and they are gonna be making the recommendation to the
Yeah.
commissioners, and that's how we'll handle the award, so the actual award will be through the commissioners, the recommendation will be through the selection committee.
So in that case, we don't need any kind of digital application for,
She was talking about
The digital artist.
No. Oh, that's what they're talking about, the
No,
arts have
because
to fund it.
that is the true RFP process, yeah.
Sorry, I think we're talking about your thing. I don't mean.
You mean the artist for the
Committee, yes.
Google form, yes.
Okay, great. Then we can just sit in the.
Selection committee Google form, yes, actual submission of RFP.
5 copies of these.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for the selection committee, and we can change this for the draft, I just put in 2 hard copies and 1 electronic copy, depending on what you guys want to do.
Okay.
That's totally up to you.
Okay, all right, I wasn't sure. if
Yeah,
there was
for
any
purposes of the
practice
draft,
or-
it's just, for like 2 hard copies, realistically, that's for the selection committee
Yeah.
to physically review it. The electronic copy is just for backup. But if you need more, require more, then that'll be up to
Gotcha. So we'll just have to push that, and that's just something that is on the agenda for executive, to go through our meeting, so we can do that later this week.
Okay, so this part of the table dinner, I emailed, the commissioners and Cass as well as Lindsay last week, a week and a half ago. I had a resident reach out to me over the summer, really making the pitch that as a borough, we have, a lot of our rec programming is geared at youth. We have community chorus, we have community theater. But beyond, some of the activities that take place in this building, we have chair yoga, there's not a lot of offerings for active older adults. And so this resident has a lot of experience, cultivating and hosting farm to table dinners. And this is in Loudoun County. I didn't bring the microphone, found here about this big, of like all the accolades that running this sort of event. So her idea and her ask, and her offer of work was to host a farm to table dinner in town, at the right outside, like in the fall under the stars, earlier in the day, 21 and above. So it's not really not a kid friendly event, but that's okay. Not everything has to be kid friendly. And like it's a community building, think one gigantic long table, family style, getting to meet your neighbors and having a night out. So her offer, and again, this is something she would want to be here tonight to talk to you all about it, but she's on a trip, was that she is willing to do all the organizing for the event. The ask from the borough is for help with ticketing, help with promotion, which is a big thing for an event like this, because you want to, you need, it would be up to 100 people. They can't really accommodate more because of the community vibe of having, you can't have, a table be a mile long. So that was her ask. If it feels like it's too quick to do something like that this fall, if it feels like it's too much of Lindsay's capacity, knowing that someone else would be running the majority of the work, if Lindsay wants to know more about this, as to whether you say yes or no. It's like, well, I've never run something like this before. Is it just comms and selling tickets for this? Okay, I can do that if you're looking for. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention and see what their thoughts on it as an event was, what questions you might have. I have like a full Excel on the costs, and if we can sell 100 tickets, I mean, it'll come out even. It's not to make money, it's just to host a community event for a segment of our town population that we don't, I think at the moment, have offerings for.
And you're saying older adults, which you're quantifying as
Empty nesters.
I'm sorry, empty nesters are 21 and over.
Either, I mean, like, it's just,
Adults.
adults.
Just adults, okay.
Just adults.
So is this an event that the borough is paying for, sponsoring, or is this an event that, this individual is going to be collecting ticket sales?
So I think the idea that the borough would host it, there would be a ticket prices would cover the costs of the event. The borough would help in, when you say the cost of the event, whose costs?
the restaurant, like the cost of the food,
Okay.
the cost of the venue, the cost of the labor for like the waiters and the rental, the cost of putting on the event.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no salaries here, this person isn't getting paid to do any of this, it's just pay the restaurant for the food and the servers and
But what we have to wait is the borough's staff time.
the borough
I
staff,
mean,
absolutely.
just to, as an alternate consideration, because even if the borough is in some way supporting the event, right, the ticket prices were like 75 or 100 bucks.
75, yeah.
Sometimes in doing this for a long
Yeah.
time, it's easier to take government out of it, and I'm not against it, there might be a way to do it.
Yeah.
But you might also wanna just consider charging 125 and it being a private event. I mean, it's the same thing, and then as you guys have learned, it can sometimes be trickier when we get involved in collecting funds and insuring things and all that sort of stuff. So that's, for a little bit more money, it could be a private event, or we could be involved and it could be a little bit less, and, you go either way. But sometimes we tell people, when they come to us with ideas, we say, ultimately, it might be easier for you to do it on your own and not involve us. Not right, but it's something to consider.
Jim, what do you think?
I think this is a much crazier, harder idea than you or this person that's volunteered to do this, like, has any idea of it. There's not, to cater an event, a dinner for 200 people on the front lawn of the Scottish Rite, and I've seen that they say, the Michael's, is real enthusiastic about doing it. Like, I don't know that he's gone through, like, where is he preparing food? What has to get transported where? How's the bar getting set up out there? What, like, it is, we run the snowball, right? The snowball gala that gets done inside started as a gala for adults. Now one had that, okay, and it was formal, started out, it was toughness. And it is an enormously labor-intensive commitment, that we eventually, did do it for a year or two, and then we rolled it into the white dinner, right? The dinner of white, which, was the greatest event like that for organizers ever, because everybody brings their tables and brings their food and cleans up their stuff and takes it all home. This is, like, it sounds wonderful, it sounds great,
But the lift is a lot heavier than
what a
it would
lot of work, oh, by all means, like, what a lot of work, and whenever it does get done, does that mean the Scottish Rite's not operating that night?
Have you contacted them?
Yes.
Or we're gonna have an event, or we can't have an event, like, it just sounds lovely. And if I could snap my fingers, we would do it every Saturday night. But, the reason it doesn't happen is because it's, moving about.
All right, that's
So,
helpful feedback.
happy to positively contribute to it, but that's it.
Okay. That's fair, I appreciate that. Alright. Is there anything else we have for discussion that we want to?
Before we go to formal action items, Jim, can we discuss, you and I have been discussing over email, I know you're out of town, about the proposals for the fire department.
Yeah, so I think where we are is we got some proposals in on Thursday. We kind of narrowed it down between the two of us, talking to two of those. And we're going to interview those two with an eye toward, doing an award at our next meeting.
Yeah, so we received 9 and they vary greatly, they vary greatly in cost, but, the two of us spoke, and there are 2. So what do you want the interview process to look like, Jim? Do you want us both to be
Well,
involved?
we just have a leader, whoever set up like Zoom conference for us to like talk to everybody and just have conversations. That's it.
And who would be present at those?
Well, you and me, I don't know, Caitlin can be, that's fine, Cassandra, I hadn't really thought it through.
Okay, how do you feel about Chief Joyce being there?
I would prefer not, but we can certainly talk to him separately of his thoughts on the two. I kind of want to get like a review of everything in the department, and Jeffrey, no offense, but I would rather like have just a discussion with them and go to do that from the governmental level to look at the department.
So we'll set up those Zooms. The only thing with the April meeting is that we're not meeting again as to take action until April. So, but we would potentially award, which is listed at 18, so we would potentially award that contract, at the April meeting. And the two that we were looking at both were kind of a 3-month timeline. So if it was awarded in April, yeah.
That's been a whole flurry of setting up a special meeting to introduce the budget.
Yes,
That's
What's that gonna be?
That was,
yes, that's gonna be,
is that the end of March?
it's
Sorry,
gonna
there's
be,
so many meetings.
it's gonna be, it's gonna be the end of March, early April, like March 31st.
Okay.
Can we award it
in
then?
April.
Yes.
Yeah, we can just add that to the special.
Okay, so, because the two that we were looking at, that are both under budget, Daniela, had like a 90-day timeline. So potentially, if we award it end of March, they would work April, May, and we'd have a report in June.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So I want to ask with this flurry of meetings to introduce the budget, what's been decided on the budget? Is the 225 for the school district being included in this budget?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Okay. I just wondered, what was that decided?
And we talked about it last open meeting, and you made your case, and Amy made her case, and I made mine, and we don't, I think fundamentally, especially with the looming, construction for affordable housing is gonna happen in the water tower, that will likely end up in being a pilot. I think it's very important to public trust that when the borough says, like, here's this amount, and it is going to the schools for the lifetime of the pilot, that we're not going to say, but this other thing happened, so now you're not gonna get it. Which,
Well,
I'm not saying that that's what happened last year. I don't want to imply that that's what happened last year, because last year was a very extraordinary circumstance.
no, you
And
are. No, you're directly implying that that's exactly what happened, okay? And you're not taking into account that they, increased taxes $4.5 million. But that's not my question. My question is, when did you and Amy decide that's what the budget's gonna be?
We have not,
I thought these meetings were where we're doing that.
correct, we have not had,
Because you've been getting, there's emails scheduling when we're gonna introduce the budget, so you've decided this already.
we have not separately discussed it, but I think that we both made our intentions clear at the last meeting. My thought is, I saw earlier this week that Collingwood is receiving $300,000 less from the state, their state budget just came out. Are some of our surrounding towns, because they are contributing a larger percentage of their municipal budget to the schools, are getting money, like Haddonfield.
The Hatfield municipality is contributing 0 to their school district. You guys are just going over the same stuff that's just not accurate, okay? It is wrong, it is not accurate, and listen, Collingswood budget, that's the rating agency review. Because we kept the budget flat last year, and we did that because the school district was raising taxes $4.5 million, okay? We did it to help the taxpayers, but the rating agency has dropped the outlook on the borough from positive to stable, okay? That means that there are signs that we have discussed that are concerned. You get extra 25 to the school board because they asked for it. After last year, they increased taxes 4.5. This year, they're collecting the 4.5 again, plus going to the max, I'm sure, on their taxes. And we're going to buy a building we're gonna be buying a building for them, or that might maybe used some point by them. I just think it's very short-sighted, it's the wrong step to take. There is no reason to be doing this, other than they asked, and you're trying to like, be nice with them.
Respectfully,
it puts the
Jim.
borough's budget in a bad position.
Respectfully, Jim, I know you continue to want to beat this drum, but the two of us have made our intentions clear on this, and I'm sorry, but the two of us have the votes on that line item. Thank you for your.
Yeah, you do, just somebody needs to convey that to me, because when we talked about it.
And we have not discussed it,
And in the meantime, we got meetings scheduled to introduce it.
and we haven't met.
This stuff, you wanna do it at these meetings, but you don't decide it here at the meetings.
So like Jim, we had this is like, we're going, you have said nothing new, I think the only new thing I have said in this meeting that I did not say in our last working meeting was that I think it's because of how quickly we've moved with the affordable housing that's going to be in the water tower site, if we're looking forward to introducing new pilots, which will likely happen with that, it is very important to have public trust. And when we say that however that income from the pilot is going to be distributed, that can be trusted over the lifespan of the pilot. And I wish you didn't take it that I am saying that against you from last year, because last year were extremely special circumstances. So I think if this year we go back to setting that money aside, as it was stated that it would always be in it when the Parkview pilot was born, then I think that does something in earning public trust. So if we have future pilots in other sites, and we say then that here's a percentage that is going to go to the schools, that's going to be set aside for this, and people say, okay, we trust that you are going to follow through on that for the 30-year lifespan of the pilot. Not, well, who knows, something may change and then they'll take it away. And I don't know how I feel about that. And I don't.
My position is simply this. What changed last year is the school district said, we did not need to take that money from the borough because we were increasing taxes $4.5 million. Okay? That's what changed. And this year, they're collecting it again. And we're still gonna now go back for what we didn't do last year because they increased the 4.5. We're gonna go collect from taxpayers an additional $255 over that 4.5 to donate it over to the schools. That is, yes, a very significant change, and I don't think taxpayers have any less trust in us. I think they lose that trust in us, but we're just spending the money on things without any justification.
But Jim, I think that's really, I think that's.
I'm trying to say $5,000 here, $5,000 there. We're giving $255 to the school for no reason.
I think it's really unfair to say things like that, especially when we have given a lot of money to other entities like the Scottish Rite in the tune of almost $250,000 as well. So like these decisions are made.
If you want to not pay the $250 and close it down, you got 2 votes, go right ahead.
The borough
You
does.
run that. That's
No, the Collinswood Foundation for the Arts runs that. The borough doesn't. They have their lease.
The borough's lease. It's the borough's lease.
And the borough leases it to the Collinswood Foundation of the Arts.
Yeah. Daniela, you want to shut it down and take the $250? Go right ahead.
That's
Go right ahead.
not what I.
If you don't think that's a good investment for the borough, then you take steps to change.
That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I'm saying that we spent that.
For nothing.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that amount of money was already spent in this past year on things like that. So going around and saying that it's wasting money to send a predetermined, what had always been sent to the schools, and to continue doing so and saying that that is a waste is just, I don't think an accurate description. But we're not going to see eye on that, and I don't want to belabor the point. But these are discussions last month and this month. There's nothing else.
Yeah, my position remains the same.
I didn't know it got decided. Somebody asked at the last public meeting, and you said, "Oh no, it hasn't been decided." But
We haven't voted.
decided.
We haven't voted. I think you know our positions. We've been around this and around this and around this.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry you don't like it.
And I got one more, I disagree with, I have one more question. What's the status of the RFQ for the affordable housing?
So Tiffany got the comments back on it, so we can post that like this week if we want.
We haven't seen it yet.
I think I circulated it, but I'll circulate it. I'll revise it for the comments, but I'll circulate it internally before we post it. I think we need to firm out some of the submission dates and deadlines, and that was the last outstanding thing, including a pre-bid meeting.
And it's some like, but they're not really through.
Yeah, so overall, ready to go with a few adjustments, hopefully we can post it this week or.
Great,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay, I just wanna make sure I get to see that and read it with everyone's comments before we post it.
Yes.
Because that was my concern, is to book, like, say, we're gonna, just like, hey, because I was like, yeah, we'll post by the end of the week, it's Wednesday, I haven't seen it with everyone's comments yet. So I just wanna make sure that we have a chance to read all that. Sure, okay, great, thank you. Anything else, Jim?
No, that's it.
Okay.
I suffer close, that's all.
Great, okay. All right, so now we're gonna move into formal action items. Holly?
With the first reading of ordinance 1830, amending chapter 217 of the Code of the Borough of Collingswood recreation fees.
So real quick, this is just a pretty nominal increase on rec fees, since there hasn't been an increase since early 2020, I believe. And if the final reading for this would be the second reading, this time public comment would be April 13th. So,
Commissioner Manley,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson Riley,
yes.
Mayor Shalana Ward.
Yes.
Have following ordinances, resolutions. Appointing George Schroeder as a Class 2 member of the Planning Board.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Authorizing the award of emergency contract for a sewer pipe repair.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
If anybody's wondering, what you saw on Park Ave in front of the Marina Apartments along Cooper River, that's the emergency sewer repair that we are referencing.
Authorizing the award of a contract to MBE Mark III for the Conway Avenue Water Plant Project.
Yes.
Yes.
Treasuring funds between appropriations, reserve balances.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Authorizing a grant application to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection for leaf composting 2026. I have 2025 on the agenda, 2026.
Yes.
Yes.
And authorizing to apply for a CDBG program for senior services.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I do have an additional, approving payment of bills as presented by the CFO.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Do the CDBG library?
Library with the next one.
Nice. That's exciting.
And then I have a resolution for closed session. No? We going into closed session?
We are going to close session. Yes.
Resolution authorizing to enter closed session.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, that's what I have.